Hello, professionals. I am Jarisa Garcia, the host of Professional Favor, and this is the Behind the Mic commentary for the podcast. And I am here with Maricel Garcia, my special guest for the very third episode titled Maintaining Mental Health After COVID-19. So, Maricel, how was the recording experience for you?
I feel like at first it took a few takes for us to get going, but once we finally got through the hump, I feel like it flowed really well.
And what would you say maybe, you've been having to work. You've been an essential employee and you've been having to work throughout, the quarantine time and you have to work with people and advising them on how to manage the anxiety. Um, this is your chance, something that you maybe not had been able to say before. What would you say now?
I would say working during these times has been very stressful because everybody to a degree is feeling anxious, is feeling a lot of emotions maybe that we're not used to dealing with. And on top of that, we're having to stay home a lot more. We're not able to do the things that we like. So that causes stress and anxiety, I feel like, to everyone and anyone. So having to deal with that for myself, and then at the same time having to work with my patients, at times it was a little bit of a struggle, and having to keep things in perspective, I feel like sometimes it's a little bit hard.
So now things are reopening back up and we're trying to go back to a new normal. What does that really mean?
I feel like none of us really know, and no one really knows what this new normal is going to look like. A lot of people now have been going back to work, still having to deal with a lot of fear, a lot of anxieties and worries and those kinds of things. And a lot of times people don't know how to deal with that. So I feel like for everyone, that anxiety and those fears, those worries are still there. Maybe even more so now that people are going back to work.
So you've been essential. And so you've had to advise people on managing their anxiety throughout this whole time. Now that essentially we are coming back into work, what are some of the things maybe that if you would like to say? What would you tell people?
I would say number one, be safe. I mean, listen to these guidelines, these professionals that are out here making these guidelines, whether it's social distancing, practicing good hygiene, washing your hands. First and foremost, make sure that you're doing that. Very important, right? But also making sure that you're managing your mental health, making sure that you're staying healthy, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally. I feel like that's very important. And a lot of times we don't think about the importance of that. We just think about the physical health because those are the things that we can see. But I think that's another important thing. And also another thing is using creativity. I mean, now that we can't do a lot of the things that we love to do, being creative in finding different ways to cope, finding ways to have fun and do the things that we normally would do.
All right, that's fair enough. And so, in your line of work, it can get a little crazy and a little chaotic. What do you do then when things get kind of tense at work?
When I'm at work, luckily I have a few close coworkers that sometimes I can just vent to, and I know that they would be a good ear. So sometimes that's one thing that I do. Sometimes just stepping back, taking a break, whether it's just simply walking around the building, taking a breath outside. Sometimes that can be very beneficial to do, just to kind of step back, prevent you from doing something maybe that you'll regret in the moment, keeping us sane. But I think those things are important.
So, in the scale of therapy, and where does venting rank on there?
So I would say, especially if you're venting to your coworkers, make sure that you're wise about doing this, because sometimes you don't want to say something and say it to the wrong person, and then get yourself in a situation, and now instead of venting, now you got yourself in trouble. So just make sure that you're a little bit smart about that. Luckily, since I am a therapist, I also have therapist friends, so I have a lot of people who are good ears. So I think that's kind of one of the plus sides of being a therapist.
So you always talk about, and I hear you say this phrase, and you will hear this on the episode as well, but being a good ear. What are the characteristics of a good ear?
I would say just being someone who really listens. I think as a whole, people, as a default, we're not good listeners. A lot of times when someone comes and talks to you, our go-to response is we just want to fix things. Even myself, I know I do this. In my line of work, maybe not as much because I know how that can get me in trouble, but even just in my personal life, I know if someone is coming to me with a problem, we are quick. We want just to fix them. We don't like people to feel negative emotions or
Why
feel
not?
uncomfortable because it's not comfortable for us, and many times it's not comfortable for them. So we just want quick fixes. But I honestly believe that a lot of times people know what they're going to do. And they're going to do what they're going to do. So a lot of times they just want someone to listen to them. So not being quick to jump to problem solving is a big part of that.
All right. And so for the person that hasn't listened to the episode yet, what would you advise?
I would say listen to it, the sooner the better, because I feel like this episode is very timely in this pandemic and in the situation that we're in now with everybody returning to work. I feel like with people being closed in for so long, a lot of people are just dealing with an array of emotions, and a lot of times people don't know how to channel these emotions. So I think the sooner you listen to the episode, the better, because I feel like everyone could get something out of this episode.
So there you have it, from her mouth to your ears. So go listen to the third episode of proFAITHsional Favor. And if you found it particularly helpful, make sure to share it with someone, especially if you know someone that is struggling, that they need a little bit of extra help. And be a good ear. We all need that. And so if you want more tips on how to be a better ear, feel free to join our private group on Facebook. It is called proFAITHsional Favor. There you can post any questions. And also make sure that you subscribe for more of Behind the Mic's commentary right here on YouTube. And I'll be seeing you until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.